Let's rephrase that script, maintaining your distinctive style and articulation, with slight changes to word order. Understanding her pushback, a man's guide. Let's be clear about something from the start. Women don't always make surface-level sense. One moment, she's drawn to you. The next, she's distant. She claims she wants a real man in her life, yet when you approach with genuine intent, she withdraws. Confusing, isn't it? But here's the harsh truth: most men fail to grasp. Sometimes the very moment a woman desires you most is precisely when she pushes you the hardest. And if you don't understand why, you'll react emotionally, pursue her more intensely, or walk away in frustration, ultimately losing her. This behavior isn't always a sign of disinterest. In fact, it often stems from fear, emotional vulnerability, or even a test of your strength. Many modern women operate in a survival mode, highly independent, constantly guarding their hearts, conditioned not to trust easily. So, when she experiences genuine feelings for you, feelings that threaten her emotional control, she panics. She doesn't know whether to let you in or to protect herself. Unfortunately, that protection often manifests as distance, a change in attitude, or outright rejection. If you interpret that at face value, you'll completely misread the situation. And most men do. They become needy, reactive, and start pushing for validation or clarity, doing the exact opposite of what would work. That's why this video is crucial. You're going to learn the true reasons, why women behave this way, and how to respond like a masculine man who comprehends the dynamic, not with emotion, but with calm, control, and strategy. This isn't about manipulation. It's about awareness and power. The more you understand female behavior, the more confidently and strongly you can lead, even when her actions defy logical explanation. 1. Her fear of losing control. When a woman starts falling deeply for a man, something unexpected happens. Inside her, she begins to lose the emotional control she's spent years meticulously building, and that frightens her more than most men realize. You see, many women, particularly in today's dating landscape, are taught that vulnerability equates to weakness. They've been hurt, lied to, used, abandoned, or rejected. So, when authentic feelings for you begin to surface, it doesn't initially feel exciting. It feels dangerous. Her emotions start to overwhelm her logic. She begins to imagine needing you, missing you, desiring your presence in ways she can't easily explain or manage. And that level of emotional intensity is terrifying because it places her in a position where you now hold power. Not because you're attempting to control her, but because the one who feels more usually feels less in control. So instead of leaning in, she pulls back. Instead of opening up, she creates distance. She might turn cold, act disinterested, or even pretend you're not that important to her. This isn't rejection in the traditional sense. It's emotional self-preservation. And most men misinterpret this withdrawal as a signal to chase harder, text more, prove their worth, or demand answers. But every time you do that, you reinforce her fear. She starts to believe she was correct to pull back because now you're exhibiting signs of neediness, which further diminishes her attraction. The correct response is not to panic. You must understand this for what it is, an emotional moment of internal conflict within her. She doesn't dislike you. She's not bored. She's scared of the power you now hold over her emotions. And the way to handle that is with masculine calmness. Pull back slightly. Give her space to process those emotions. Let her come to terms with the fact that her feelings don't signify weakness, but rather connection. And the only way she'll believe that is if you don't pressure her to explain or validate them. A woman's fear of losing control isn't always obvious. It hides behind excuses like, "I'm busy," or "I need time," or "I'm just not ready." What she's truly saying is, "I feel too much, and I don't know what to do with it." The man who understands this doesn't rush to fix it. He doesn't try to make her talk about it or seek constant reassurance. He remains steady, grounded, and unaffected by the pushback. And eventually, when she sees that he's not chasing or falling apart due to her distance, her fear begins to dissipate. That's when she starts returning stronger, not because you forced her, but because you provided her with the emotional safety of knowing she can feel something for you without losing herself in the process. 2. She tests what you're made of. When a woman begins pushing you away, especially soon after showing interest, it's not always about her emotions spiraling out of control. Sometimes it's deliberate. It's a test, not out of malice or manipulation, but out of instinct. A woman wants to know the caliber of man she's dealing with. Can you handle pressure? Do you crumble when things become uncertain? Do you remain grounded, or do you become emotional and start begging for attention? These are the silent questions she's asking when she pulls back, and how you respond will determine how she perceives you from that point forward. Modern dating is filled with distractions, options, and emotional noise. Women have learned to protect themselves by filtering out weak energy, and that filter often manifests as testing. She might delay replying to your texts. She might cancel plans last minute. She might become cold or start acting indifferent. This isn't always a sign that she's over you. It's often a way to see if you'll collapse or rise. She's testing your emotional strength, not because she enjoys playing games, but because she needs to feel safe before she lowers her guard. Most men fail this test because they become reactive. They start sending lengthy messages trying to justify their worth. They ask her what's wrong. They plead for clarity. In doing so, they demonstrate that they are controlled by her emotions, and that instantly kills attraction. Because here's the truth. A man who cannot maintain his composure under pressure cannot lead her through life. That's how she sees it. And no woman wants to emotionally invest in a man she cannot respect. Now, here's where it becomes real. If you remain calm, collected, and detached from the outcome when she tests you, she notices. If she senses that her sudden coldness doesn't bother you and that you're not chasing her validation, she begins to feel something deeper. Respect. Respect leads to attraction, and attraction leads to trust. That's the real game. Don't react with anger. Don't try to prove anything. If she becomes cold, you match her energy with strength and grace. You don't vanish to manipulate. You detach to safeguard your own self-worth. If she cancels on you, you don't argue or complain. You let it go and continue living your life. This communicates that you are emotionally independent and not afraid of losing someone who is unsure of you. That's power. That's masculinity. And believe it or not, that quiet strength is what makes her return even more intensely. Because she knows she can't shake you. A woman pushes you away to test if you're just another guy seeking quick validation, or if you're a man who commands respect through emotional control. Every man faces tests. The intelligent ones don't react. They observe. They stay in their lane. And they let their strength speak louder than their words. 3. She's battling her own past sometimes. When a woman starts to develop feelings for you, it isn't just about you. It's about everything she's experienced. Before you entered the picture, that coldness, that distance, that moment when she suddenly becomes emotionally unavailable. Just as things are getting serious, it's not always because she doesn't want you. It's often because she's haunted by memories of being hurt, betrayed, or abandoned. She's not pushing you away. She's pushing away the fear of reliving the same pain. And if you take it personally, you'll miss the broader context. A woman who has been broken before doesn't simply open her heart easily. You might be doing everything correctly, showing her consistency, being genuine, treating her with respect, but if her past has taught her that even the best men can change overnight, she struggled to fully trust what's happening, and that inner battle manifests in peculiar ways. She may become hot and cold. One day she's calling you her peace. The next she's avoiding you as if you've done something wrong. But it's not always about the present. It's the trauma of the past resurfacing. Now, here's where most men falter. They react to that shift in energy by becoming overly emotional. They start asking what's wrong, doubting themselves, or trying to overcompensate with affection. But when you do that, you're not healing her wounds. You're triggering more of them. Why? Because you're reinforcing the fear that emotions bring instability. What she truly needs is emotional consistency, not panic, not pressure, and definitely not neediness. The intelligent man understands that he is not responsible for her past, but he is responsible for maintaining his frame in the present. When she begins to retreat because her fears are activated, you don't follow her into that emotional spiral. You remain calm, composed, and grounded. You don't pressure her to talk about it unless she chooses to. You don't try to fix her. You simply give her space and allow her to choose you again, without force, without emotional bribes. And here's the secret. When she sees that you're not reacting to her triggers the way others did, something shifts. She begins to realize that you're not there to hurt her, control her, or use her. You're not like the ones who caused her pain. That realization builds a deeper level of trust and respect. And once a woman respects you through the lens of emotional safety, she becomes far more open, affectionate, and consistent. The reason she pushes you away, even when she wants you, is because she's at war with the scars she conceals. But the man who triumphs isn't the one who pursues her during her retreat. It's the one who stands tall, maintains his balance, and becomes the calm she can return to when the storm in her mind clears. For she's seeing if you'll chase. There's a moment in almost every developing connection where the woman pulls back, not because she's lost interest, but because she wants to observe your reaction. And this is where many men fail without even realizing it. You see, when a woman starts to develop genuine feelings for you, a part of her wonders if you feel the same, but instead of directly asking, she often creates space. That space isn't merely distance, it's a test. She wants to see if you'll chase her, not because she craves attention, but because she's attempting to gauge your emotional control and determine if you're the kind of man who leads or the kind who clings. In her mind, if she becomes slightly unavailable and you instantly panic, flooding her phone with messages, asking why she's distant, begging for her time, then she knows. She has you emotionally entangled. That might feel good initially, but ultimately it extinguishes attraction. Why? Because the moment you start chasing a woman, you alter the dynamic. You transform from the centered, mysterious, masculine man to one who is now reacting to her energy instead of maintaining his own. That shift causes her to question everything. This doesn't mean you should never initiate. It doesn't mean you should ignore her or engage in childish games. It means you need to recognize the distinction between leading and chasing. Leading is when you move with confidence, purpose, and clarity. Chasing is when you move with anxiety, desperation, and the fear of losing her. And she can sense that difference even if you don't utter a word. Many women, especially those accustomed to attention, will subconsciously push men away simply to see who persists and how they behave in the silence. It's her way of assessing your value. A high-value man doesn't flinch when she pulls back. He gives her space and continues living his life. He lets her wonder. He lets her feel the void. And in doing so, he shifts the emotional weight back onto her shoulders. Now, she's the one wondering if she misjudged you. She's the one asking herself why you didn't chase. That's where genuine attraction begins, not in the chasing, but in the stillness. Think of it this way. If you chase, you're telling her she's the prize. But if you remain composed and patient, you remind her that you're the prize too. This balance of mutual respect and self-worth is what draws a woman closer. Not just because she wants you, but because she knows she can't manipulate you emotionally. That builds trust. That builds curiosity. That builds something real. So, when she pulls away, don't panic. Don't chase. Observe. Respond with calm strength. Let her feel the silence. And most importantly, let her make the next move. 5. She's afraid you'll see the real her. There comes a point in almost every connection where a woman begins to feel truly seen, not just for her looks or personality, but for who she genuinely is beneath the surface. And surprisingly, that's precisely when some women start to withdraw. It sounds counterintuitive, but it's real. The more emotionally connected she feels, the more vulnerable she becomes. And when that vulnerability creeps in, many women suddenly retreat. What? Because she's afraid you'll see the parts of her she's spent years concealing, the flaws, the insecurities, the emotional baggage, the scars. She may appear strong, confident, and put together on the outside, but underneath that image is often a woman who's been judged, shamed, or rejected in the past. Perhaps she's been told she's too emotional, too needy, or not good enough. Perhaps she's experienced failed relationships where her authentic self wasn't accepted. So now, even though she desires you, she fears that if you get too close, you'll eventually see her imperfections and decide to leave. That fear doesn't always manifest in words. It shows up as distance, sudden coldness, or confusing behavior. Not because she dislikes you, but because she likes you too much and doesn't want to risk being rejected at her most vulnerable. Now, here's where most men fail. They take her withdrawal personally. They start trying to prove that they're different. They say things like, "You can trust me," or "I would never hurt you." And while those words may be true, they come across as just that, words. A woman who's been hurt doesn't respond to verbal promises. She responds to energy. And if your energy becomes anxious, if your tone changes, if you start pursuing her for reassurance, you confirm her deepest fear that closeness leads to instability. What she needs isn't you trying to fix her or draw out her emotional wounds. What she needs is your emotional stability. She needs to see that even when she pulls back, even when she acts distant or unsure, you remain grounded. You don't overreact. You don't take it personally. You stay firm in who you are. That's what builds trust. That's what allows her to slowly lower her guard. Not because you begged for it, but because she saw that you were strong enough to handle all of her, not just the polished, pretty version. And here's the truth. The more grounded you are, the more her fear begins to fade. She starts to realize that she doesn't need to hide her true self around you. She doesn't need to perform or pretend. She can be real, emotional, messy, unsure, and you won't run. That safety is what opens her up again. And when she feels safe, the pushback ends. The walls come down, so remember this. If she starts pushing you away as things get deeper, it might not be a rejection. It might be fear that you'll see the sides of her she's terrified to show. Handle it with quiet strength, and she'll slowly give you more than you ever expected. 6. She's not sure she deserves you. Sometimes the reason a woman pushes you away, even when she clearly desires you, has nothing to do with how she feels about you, but everything to do with how she feels about herself. In the modern world, where superficial confidence is often mistaken for true self-worth, many women carry unresolved insecurities hidden beneath polished exteriors. A woman might smile, flirt, laugh, and project an image of having it all together. But deep down, she might not genuinely believe she deserves a good man. And the closer you get, the more that fear begins to take over. If you're the kind of man who brings stability, emotional maturity, purpose, and presence, you automatically stand out. You're not just another guy trying to impress her. You're someone who offers something real. And that can be intimidating to a woman who's only accustomed to men who play games or thrive on drama. When she perceives that you're serious, consistent, and genuinely interested in her beyond her looks or social image, it shakes her inner world. Now she starts asking herself questions. Why me? What does he truly see in me? What happens when he realizes I'm not perfect? She might begin to feel like she can't meet your standards. she might convince herself you'll eventually leave. Once you see her flaws, and instead of risking that heartbreak later, she distances herself now to protect herself from what she believes is inevitable. She might even sabotage the connection, instigating arguments, acting disinterested, or pretending she's too busy for you. But the real issue isn't you. It's that she views you as more than she believes she deserves. And if you don't understand that, you'll interpret her behavior as rejection and walk away too soon. This is where your patience and awareness as a man become crucial. You need to realize that her self-doubt isn't something you can fix for her. You can't force her to believe she deserves love, but you can remain grounded and consistent in how you present yourself. You don't chase, you don't try to convince her. You lead with quiet strength. You make it clear through your energy that you know your own worth and you're willing to give her the space to rise to meet you, not drag you down with fear. One of the most powerful things a man can do is to maintain his frame when a woman starts doubting herself. Not by over-explaining or trying to rescue her, but by letting her feel the contrast between your strength and her insecurity, and giving her the choice to rise. You don't lower yourself to make her feel better. You stay elevated, calm, and unshaken. That energy invites her to grow into the connection instead of running from it. So, if she starts to pull away, even while showing interest, understand, she might not be running from you. She might be running from the idea that she could. Finally, have something real. Don't let her fear change your posture. Stand firm, and she'll either rise to meet you or reveal that she's not ready for the kind of man you are. 7. She wants you to prove you're different when a woman pushes you away, even though she clearly desires you. One of the most overlooked reasons is this. She wants to know if you're truly different from every other man who's disappointed her. This isn't always a game, and it's not always a sign of drama. It's a deep psychological defense built from past experiences. Because, let's be honest, many women today have dealt with men who began strong, said all the right things, made bold promises, then vanished, cheated, or changed abruptly as soon as feelings became real. So now, even when she's genuinely attracted to you, she's cautious. She might smile on the surface, but deep down she's thinking, how long until he reveals his true self? Will he still want me when things aren't easy? Is he going to run the moment I let my guard down? That doubt, that hesitation, creates a wall. And the way she tests that wall isn't always verbal. She doesn't always say, show me you're different. Instead, she observes, she pushes, she distances herself, not to punish you, but to see how you'll react when circumstances aren't smooth and easy. Here's the mistake most men make. They get upset that they even have to prove anything. They perceive it as an insult, as if their word alone should suffice. But in the real world, actions reveal character, and a woman who has been disappointed or betrayed before isn't just listening to what you say. She's studying your behavior under pressure. She wants to know, will you remain calm when she's cold? Will you back off when she's distant, or will you suffocate her with neediness? Will you remain consistent even when she's unsure? She might cancel plans unexpectedly. She might delay replying to your texts. She might even start withdrawing affection or interest. And in those moments, your response determines everything. If you become emotionally reactive, if you bombard her phone or attempt to guilt-trip her, you demonstrate that you're no different from the rest. But if you remain composed to still, interested, but not needy, still grounded, but not chasing, you communicate volumes. You show her you're not swayed by temporary storms. You're built for the long game. Being different doesn't mean being perfect. It means being unshaken. It means remaining solid in who you are without forcing her to feel what she's not ready to feel. You don't try to control the situation. You control yourself, and when she sees that, truly sees it, she begins to realize that maybe, just maybe, she doesn't need to push you away this time, because this time, she's dealing with a man who's not like the rest. A man who leads, stays composed, and doesn't flee from uncertainty. So, when she pushes you away, don't get emotional. Understand what's happening beneath the surface. She's not just testing your patience, she's testing your foundation. If that's solid, she'll feel safe. If it's not, she'll keep running. When a woman pushes you away, even though she wants you, it's not always rejection. It's often fear, self-doubt, or a silent test of your emotional strength. Most men react, chase, or collapse under pressure, losing her respect in the process. But the man who remains calm, unbothered, and grounded through her confusion becomes the one she trusts, desires, and eventually chooses. This isn't about games, it's about leadership, awareness, and self-control. Let her push, let her test. Your power lies in not being shaken. When she realizes she can't break your frame, that's when she truly begins to commit.